we'll have this discussion.
Discussion? What discussion?
This is a discussion combustion.
Coming to you from Denver, Colorado, this is Discussion Combustion Podcast with your hosts, Kevin Batstone and Arthur Raw.
You know it's game time. You know it's cook time. You know we keep it sizzling hot here out the 5280. Discussion Combustion is back in the building, and we are super excited. We got Cody, the rock star, in here, man. He's been on Hell's Kitchen. He has a YouTube channel that's a little bit newer, picking up major traction right out the gate. And this guy has a great energy as well. So we're super excited to talk to him in just a little bit. But of course, before we jump into the conversation, we got to tell you about Mountain Made CBD. And Mountain Made CBD, to get 20% off, you're going to punch in promo code DCPC, and the website is mountainmadecbd.com.
That's right, Art. And, all the viewers are going to see it right there at the bottom of the screen. mountainmadecbd.com, promo code DCPC. Get it while it's hot, guys. Get some of the clearest, the purest, the most affordable CBD in the market with 20% off with that promo code DCPC. Your build, your boost, your recover, your puff, your combat, your defense, CBD for your dogs, whatever you need to succeed, Mountain Made has your back. These guys are constantly innovating. It's some of the clearest CBD in the game. Best milligram per cost average, guys. You're not going to beat it. Do the math, do the research. These guys are ripping tater chipping.
Designed for an active lifestyle, designed for people who need the effects of CBD. Now, I've used this opposed to using an over-the-counter pain medication. I've used this to help give me a little extra energy moving through the day, and CBD has helped me in so many ways. I believe it could help you too. If you have any questions, I know that they're super open to hearing about any suggestions, positive or negative. Mike Patchen, the owner over there, is a solid guy, and they do have a nationwide reach. So if you're a dispensary, if you're a store that can support CBD on your shelves and you want top-notch product, they don't cut costs to have cheaper ingredients. They make sure that they put out the creme de la creme of CBD products in the market, and that's the active lifestyle CBD, and that's hashtag Go Like Hell.
Go like hell, baby. And today's episode is also brought to you by Wild Outdoor Adventures. And that's going to be WOAMEET.com. You'll see it there at the bottom of the screen as well. Free and easy to use website. Meeting people all across the board. People want to get outdoors. Maybe you just moved to Colorado. Maybe you just want to blog with some people about some great outdoor equipment. WA is the place to do it.
It's definitely the place that you want to start because the website is super easy to use. It's free to join. It's free to start conversations, ask questions, hope for teens, hope for vets. They are reaching out to help build a community, help get you in front of people of similar interests so that way you can create some lifelong memories. What is life but the memories that we hold? And if you could get outside, experience the beautiful state of Colorado, my home state, where everyone loves to move to, if you could go out there and trek those trails, you're definitely going to build some memories.
That's what it's about, man. Making lifelong friendships, experiencing things. COVID's coming to an end now. The masks are coming off. Let's get a breath of fresh air. Let's see some of this beautiful scenery that Colorado has to offer. Meet some great people along the way. I mean, it's just incredible. The hikes that are coming up, the whitewater rafting, the four-wheeling trips, the backpacking trips, you name it. Maybe you want to start your own blog, create your own thing. Hope for veterans, hope for teens, hope for singles, hope for everybody. And that's less dreaming and more exploring.
Absolutely. We are very excited to jump into this one. Cody, we got you in here via Zoom. It was such a pleasure to have you in.
Yeah, welcome aboard, brother.
Insert quote about being really grateful or something like that. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey, man.
So good.
Glad you could join us. It's good to see you, man. Good to see you're doing well. And when we first reached out to you, you were in Denver at the time. I know you made a move, so we weren't able to get you live action in studio, but you were in Denver. Is that right, Cody?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I was in Denver. I'm in Oakland now. I was living in Aspen. I was thinking about moving to Denver. Big gypsy over here. I've moved at least 50 times in my adult life.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
You might be exaggerating a little bit, but either
Hell
way.
no, I'm playing it light. I've moved like 6 times in 1 year. I had a traveling job for 3 years where I was like in a plane or something like that, like every week, moving to different places. So.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's playing it very, very, very safe.
So do you have to have a minimalist lifestyle in order to help the moves go easier?
Sure. Well, I mean, like anything in life, I think that my philosophy in life is anything you get the chance to do again, do better. And that definitely applies to moving. So I'm hella good at condensing into 2 suitcases. It depends like how dense the move is. Like, am I moving from state to state that's next to each other? Am I moving across fucking waters, like going to a different country? Like,
That's true.
Very, 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 very dependent. But no, I've gotten good at it. I definitely get tired of it. Because I love shoes and stuff like that, and they just start getting messed up the more you move them. And
What you got to use the Mr. Clean dry erasers for the white sneakers. That's what you use.
what does that mean? I only have to buy white sneakers, man? Come
No,
on,
yeah,
Arthur. No, I'm
I mean, I'm sure you could clean it off of the other ones, but I'll tell you, and I start stories sometimes, and I'm like, why am I telling this story? It's embarrassing.
Hey, too late, motherfucker. Let's go.
I know. I'm going down. I'm walking this road now. But before the work from home thing, I was constantly working downtown Denver, and there was 2 pairs of shoes that I had to wear all the time because they were like my all weathers or like the fresh ones. And those 2 pairs of shoes, man, I had to end up. It was the first time I ever bought it in my entire life. And it was it was like this. It came in a metal container, and you sprayed it in there for the shoe funk. And I don't normally run into shoe funk, but do your well-washed shoes get funky? Is that for everybody, or is that just an Arthur thing?
No, I feel like it depends on how healthy I'm being and how reckless my lifestyle is. There's just periods where I know I'm going too hard, where it's like all my shoes are getting gross. And I feel like you can tell by your socks. It's like when your feet start getting sweaty, it's like something's going wrong.
Yeah,
Something's going on over there.
yeah, for sure.
Are you guys based in Denver?
So
we're in Denver.
Yeah, we're in Denver.
What?
Yeah, that's why we were, with the booking agent, we were like, is he still here? Like, what's going on? I know we just missed you, man, but it would have been really fun to have you in studio, share some.
Well, next time you're in Denver, we'll get you in studio next time you're in Denver. But I'm going to tell you this, man, piggybacking off these shoes, I wear these cowboy boots, Cody. This is what I rock. And these things right here, I'll tell you what, they're not only fucking up my back, but they don't smell real good either. So I'm kind of digging into that same situation.
Also, let me see those boots again real quick.
Yeah, let me give you a little look here.
Let me get a
Here, I'll go side view on it.
those are like ergonomic cowboy boots, bro. What the fuck? You got like Nike sole inlays on the bottom. Like
these are Justin's, bro. These things have been holding it down.
Who's Justin? Who even is that?
He's some guy in Texas, I think.
He's a solid guy.
I don't know. I was sold on him. His name was Justin. I thought he was cool.
Kills a lot of cattle. Makes it into
I want to get
clothes.
some cowboy boots. When you first lifted those things up, I was like, those aren't. There's some cowboy that's gonna watch this at some point and be like, those aren't boots, bro. Like,
I know. And I've thrown these boots up a couple times on this show, and I'm surprised I haven't got more slack for it because I get a lot of slack for other shit, but the boots aren't one of them. But they might be now, Cody. I don't know.
I think about it sometimes when I'll listen to country music or I'll hear like a pop country song because it's like I'm a big hip hop fan, and in hip hop, it's like if you say stuff that you don't do, people will get really mad about that. People are like, you're not really a gangster. You just talk about, guns.
Why are you being fake?
Yeah, you're mentioning a gun and caliber of ammo that don't even go together. But it's like I always wonder with like country music, are there people that are like G-checking country singers? It's like, bro, you're not even country. Like I can tell you've never ridden a horse. None of that shit you're talking about. You don't even own a truck. You live in LA, dog. You have a Prius. Like, is that a thing? It's like, bro, you're from Ontario. Like, how the hell do you have a country accent? Like that kind
That's
of
a good
shit,
point.
I'm just like, yeah, because you hear
That's a good
hella
point.
people in country songs where I'm just like, bro, you've never done any of that. Come on.
Yeah, pop country has become a bit of an issue, I feel like. And,
Pop
country
anything.
music, pop anything, and like mainstream bubblegum stuff, I feel like has kind of gone off the rails a little bit. But country music, I mean, some of the old timers will tell you country music's dead now. I feel like it's been at a split. Now it's like it's either country pop or it's like that red dirt country. I think they're calling it now. It's that other shit. But for me, it's like I came out west. I'm a New England guy. I grew up in New England. Lobster, delicious cuisine up there. And I came out here, man, and I fell in love with the West. And I was like, I got to get me a pair of boots. I gave me a pair of boots to live out in the West.
Yeah.
It's not like I grew up a cowboy. I just feel like it's that Western living.
I think with change in time, I think largely what like a lot of people do, especially if they're like artisans or big fans or supporters of stuff, is that, largely just people don't like change. And some people like it and most people don't. But I would say that, you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. And largely like what happens with music, with pop culture, with any sort of fads or any sort of like disbursement of creativity where, things are kind of broadening the spectrum. I don't find that bad. I don't think that waters down what is original. I think it makes it a lot more special. And I think like, it's a shotgun blast of creativity with new stuff. It's like, there's going to be some stuff that is shitty, but just like anything in art, in my opinion, is like, if you don't like it, you don't have, no one's at gunpoint. Like, bro, listen to this country song. Like that just doesn't fucking happen. So whether it's hip hop, country, or food or anything like that, there's a bunch of parallels. I just find that it's like, yes, some people suck, but if you don't like stuff, don't prescribe to it. Let them do their thing. Because like, I guarantee those pop songs are hella fun to perform on stage.
Oh yeah,
Guarantee it.
People love it.
Yeah, have a good
Guarantee it.
time. But I feel like you're really speaking to an underlying point that's important for me to make sure that I reiterate here, and that's the point that you want to challenge yourself. You know, you want to challenge your beliefs. You want to challenge who you are, how you treat yourself, how you view the world, and it's difficult. A lot of people don't want that challenge. They don't want to pull themselves out of their comfort zone. And I've been guilty, like, oh, this new music sucks, you know,
Same.
like I'm in the 90s rap, you know, but at the same time, there's a lot of good stuff in there too. So I admire your viewpoint on that and being open to hearing new things, hearing new cooking styles, because it's so easy to cap our knowledge and just kind of get stuck in a box of a thought pattern. You know? So I feel like that's really important what you're talking about, man. And,
yeah, we're such creatures of habit. We're such creatures, and in part that's great, but it's really also good to understand on a primal level. It's like you can anticipate that we're creatures of habit, and it's good to take a step back sometimes. Like most people just get so caught up in like whether it's progress or whether it's what they think stuff should be, that they don't allow for, you know, like the fuck ups or whatever. You know, like the road to greatness isn't paved with perfection. You know, progress doesn't happen forwards. Progress happens backwards, and then you correct and learn and then go forward, in my opinion.
No, it could be better said. I 100% agree with that too, because there is almost like a false expectation that, you know, everything's got to be just this building block. Well, it's like, well, sometimes they crumble and we're going to try again. We're going to take a different route. You know, maybe we didn't lay down the right foundation the first time. And that's one thing I love about podcasting and connecting with different people, including yourself, is, you know, it's just such a cool, the ability to be able to have the internet, to be able to have Zoom and sit down with different people doing amazing things is something to build on. And it's something to, you know, it can really impact the world. You know, Elon Musk talks about all the time. He's like, man, you can learn anything you want on YouTube now, anything you can be done on research now, but it also is really contingent on where you want to put that energy, right? Because if you want to focus on the negative, you're going to find it. If you want to focus on the positive, it's out there.
Yeah. Compounding on that, you know, one thing that, because the parallel that I drew, it came from the transition of when chefs started to become rock stars, because there's the old world, new world. I'm a part of the old world. Even though I'm super young, I started young. So that's the environment that I learned in. And with all this, like, you know, title chasers, and it's cool to be a chef now, you get a lot of people that are watering. You get a lot of people that like, they went to Italy once, they know how to make pasta, but like there's no well-rounded nature of them. They don't know food costs, they don't know run a business, they don't know baking. You know, it's a lot of stuff like that where it's like, they're not what traditional chefs would, you know, generally be connotation. Yeah. But with that, you know, we have stuff like social media influencers that make food that call themselves chefs and stuff like that. And for a while it was muddy, and I had to really like step above my own ego and be like, that doesn't affect me. It's a form of creation. It doesn't have anything to do with what I do. It doesn't affect how I perform or what my cost is and stuff like that. So why the fuck would I care? Go get your bread. You know, like, I want everyone to be happy. Let's get weird.
For sure. And you know, let everybody walk in their own shoes, kind of is what you're saying. Like, you know, if you're okay with putting that out there, then, you know, so be it. But, you know, Kevin and I, we want to create an authentic product here. Like, we want to be completely organic. I fumble my words all the time, you know, stumble and whatever. We leave all of that in there, and all the silly moments. And that's really important, to hold yourself to a certain standard. And just looking at your channel, the YouTube channel created by Cody and Tasteless Chef, what do you got? Like 8 of those out right now. What a fun little, I mean, it's little because it's beginning, but what a fun project that's, you know, it's starting, and who knows the potential you're going to have with that. And the point of all this, tying it back in, yeah, is that like I could tell by what you're doing and how you're handling the camera and what you're saying, like you have authenticity in what you're saying, like, and you're teaching people, like, you know, keep whispering it until you see the error, the bubbles, you know, and things like that. Like it's a level of expertise. And so you hold yourself to that standard. Who cares what standard people hold themselves to, you know?
Well, you know, packing off what you said, I'm not holding myself to any sort of standard anymore. Like, not for a long time. You know, I put all of my fuck ups in my episode. When I fuck stuff up, I keep it in there. I'll tell you exactly how it should be done, and I'll redo stuff sometimes. But, you know, largely it's like my business model is to fail publicly, but in style. And like I'm filled with mantras and sayings and stuff like that. But one of the things that I do every day is try to be less wrong, not more right. You know what I mean? Like I'm definitely trying to like fuck up and learn from it more so than I am trying to do stuff to be right. And it's like a lot of, I mean, especially like what you're talking about earlier, like what Elon Musk said, which, you know, I have my opinions about that guy, but
Me too.
yeah, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. But you know, on where was I going with that? Oh yeah, what he's saying about YouTube. The one thing that's hard for people is with YouTube is that knowledge is a lot more accessible. You don't really have to work hard for it like you used to. Before you had to find someone specialized in something and really like either go to school for it or spend a lot of time. Now you can literally Google anything. It'll give you a direct answer that you don't need to hunt for. Generally speaking, there's videos compounding on that and stuff like that. So I would say that it makes knowledge less almost special, and it's more so that it's what you do with it now, as before you'd have to work to acquire knowledge, and that's where it became special, whereas now knowledge is super accessible. It's what you do with it. Yeah, which is like, it's like a big transitional thing, but in my opinion.
No, and I think that's a solid point. Knowledge is power, right? At the end of the day, the more we know, the stronger we can be. But I think it also, going back to what we were talking about earlier, it speaks volume to the realness. You know, the YouTube channel that you have out there, and what we try to capture here is, you know, the silliness, the fuck ups, all that stuff. Keeping it real, I think, speaks more volume than a pre-scripted, over-edited, you know, overly painted picture with the sprinkles and the ice cream cones, as I like to say. I like that more, because when I can see something that feels real, I'm more, you know, naturally going to want to click on that and associate with that than I am something that seems fake to me. So that's what I like about your channel. Yeah.
Yeah, like another compounding. So like when I was planning on moving to Denver, and I will spend time there at some point. But it's because my good friend Josh Payne and I, he's a tattooer. He's in his 30s. He's a gangster though. He's like, that's
a good last name for a tattooer.
Oh, Payne. It's not P-A-I-N, it's P-A-Y-N-E. So it's like a natural name, but still super gangster.
Wait, Major was Sergeant Payne's. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm tangential as shit. Someone needs to reel us in. No, but the crux being, Josh is a very from hard work to success story, just like myself. And the one thing that we want to start a show called Knives and Needles. It's an interview platform where you basically have to choose your interview platform. Do you want to learn how to cook and be in a high pressure kitchen situation? Or do you want to have your interview while you're getting tattooed? You know, kind of like that hot wings effect, where it's like you put someone under duress so they don't have time to overcomplicate their answers and they have to answer honestly. Yeah. But the whole thing that we want to do in the show is ask people what almost made you give up, and then what helped you choose not to. Because for me, what I have a problem, I used to have a problem with it. Now I don't. It's more so the process of education that I'm putting on myself, as opposed to what I think other people should have, is when people try to come to me and be like, or anyone, it's like, you're talented, or you're so lucky that you found what you're passionate about, or this and that. I try to be like, no, fuck that, dead that. I'm not talented. I'm not lucky. There's nothing that I'm good at. I got good at something. I was trash at everything, and I got good at one fucking thing. Yeah. And then I worked hard and I kept applying that. And now I can get good at anything I want. Half of that is mindset, and half of that is just understanding the systematic nature of learning. But regardless, I just think that people think that, you know, they look at their heroes and their idols and stuff like that as if there's some ethereal thing. And what people love doing is setting these mechanical words up that put something on the person that they don't have. They'll tell them that they're talented, or they'll even look at them and be like, oh, they're such a rock star, such a thing. That's this ethereal concept that I don't have, where I'm like, dead that shit. That's bullshit. Everybody has everything that I do. You know, most people just don't realize it. I always give people like this scenario. I'm like, what if I got good news. I got something easy and hard. And it's the system of like how you can be great at anything. What if I told you there was a way to make your brain as powerful and to be able to accomplish and to be able to be confident with anything that you wanted? Wouldn't you want that? And people are like, oh yeah, how, like, what's your trick? And I'm like, yeah, well, here's the hard, that's the secret, Cody. Yeah, well, I was like, that's the easy part. Here's the hard part. You already have it. Done. It's like, you already have it. Like, that's already there. You already have everything that I do. You have everything that anybody that you have ever looked up to. You have the same shit. It's just, how much do you want it? And have that conversation with yourself.
Well, and challenge yourself. And you know, to be true to thine self is sometimes a difficult thing, because life pulls on us in so many different directions. And you know, sometimes the easy route is not what's best for us. And it's difficult to sometimes just really like kick your own ass. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I talk about this all the time. I know you probably haven't heard too much about this, but I overcame a heavy addiction with opiates, and I was on them for like 12 years. You know, it took 5 years to get off of them. So it wasn't an easy journey, you know, and I disappointed myself constantly, but it was making that choice to try to be something. You know, you got to see it. You got to see yourself how you want to be, and you got to believe in yourself. You got to feel it. How do I feel accomplishing this? Like, how do I feel after I mastered this, even though I haven't even started? And you know, it's that mentality of like, when there's a will, there's a way, all these cliches, but it's so true, because once you start thinking that people who are successful have something that you don't have, then you're right. You know, the mind is correct, and the perception
And the
is the
mind is
reality.
powerful. The mind is powerful. Use that shit. So I was addicted to drugs as well. Like when I was younger, I was like into everything, but like I did an astronomical amount of whippets. And being a drug addict was the best thing that ever happened to me. You know, I have terrible self-control, but I have a lot of self-will. Like it's a lot of self-governing that is available. But the one thing with that I like have a problem with, not problem, but I have I think we could be doing better is like, you know, the structure for AA. And, you know, where we have people, force people almost, not force, but we have people start off conversations by saying, this is my name and this is who I am. I'm an addict. And I hate that shit. I think that's
Me too.
ridiculous. I
Yeah,
think that
yeah,
doesn't
because,
give people the power to be like, I am dealing with this now, but one day I won't. Give yourself the option of being like, I always tell people too, it's like, even if I'm not happy, like if I don't feel happy, I'm always happy because I choose to be. I'm choosing to walk towards that direction, whether or not it works or not.
And that's really what it comes down to, man. I've been listening to these videos a little bit because they impact me. I overcame some mental problems as well, you know, dealing with depression and very high
That's
anger
real.
issues, you know, addiction problems as well. So for me, it's like relating to other people that are going through this stuff speaks volume to me. AA doesn't work. I don't like that platform for me. For if it works for other people, then that's great. But what I do like is these motivational things speak something to me. And I heard something in a video a couple of weeks ago that really, really stood out. And I want to share that. And it was that we're not a manager of our life. We're a creator of it, right? So we're not just
Yeah.
managing our day to day, we create it. And that echoes off of what you were saying. You know, everybody has that unlocked potential within them. Everybody can do what they look up to be. It's up to you to go, you know, believe and achieve it, own it, and go let a rip, tater, chip.
Oh yeah. Every day when you wake up, just look at yourself and be like, wow, I'm me. That's great. That's great. Like loving yourself is like the first step for stuff like that. But yeah, I think what I always like try to you know, I'm like, build your castle. All of what time, you know, whatever you believe about time, all of what time is will exist regardless whether or not we want to control it or make shit different. And so it's like the moment you want something, make that decision. Be like, you know, if like you're like, I want to be an actor, be like, all right, I'm gonna be an actor. And then boom, like if you believe in that and you work towards that, then the moment you say it, it already exists and you just are waiting for time to catch up. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That
For
time
sure.
catching up thing is crucial for me, where it's like, if you trust your process, believe in yourself, then it already exists. You just need to wait for time to catch up. And it might take a second.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
you got to get ready to get tripped up occasionally, and maybe, you know, bust the knee open, and have those hard times where you're overcoming to try to make that happen.
Yeah.
And going back to what you said though, I just have to say it is, you know, the whole, you know, I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic. That's temporary. Like
Yep.
I for sure felt like I was an addict to opiates for a good portion of my life. But at this point in time, like I'm not bound by that. Like it doesn't control my mind anymore. You know what I'm saying? But like, that's the thing, is like, that's a fallacy in one of the biggest recovery programs in the United States is
Is the
it,
label.
yeah. And how that's an affirmation. That's a positive affirmation. I am blank. And then
Well,
when
it's
when you're
great for
doing
that
that,
thing to happen.
yeah. Yes, I mean, I feel that a lot, man. And I'm like, you could be whatever you want to be. You might be somebody now, but you could be somebody else tomorrow. And you just got to look at the tomorrow you. Like, who do you want to be tomorrow? You know?
Yeah. And it's like a lot of stuff, I think too, it's, you know, people, what I always tell people too is like, you know, same shit when I was designing my YouTube. Being a perfectionist is just inherently just being afraid of death. It's being afraid of consequence. It's being afraid that time will run out. It's being afraid that you won't be able to do something. And if you're afraid of doing something perfect, then you're not in it for the right reason. Reassess what you want from it, because it's like, I guarantee that's not honest. Because I always tell people, it's like, plan for your, 5 years from now when, you're in your business or restaurant or whatever you want to, when you're having this huge party and you're looking back on your work, wouldn't it be fun to make fun of your work that you started 5 years ago, as opposed to like waiting a year and a half till everything's perfect to release something? It's like, no, fail publicly, fail in style. People want that. People are here for it. And regardless, that's progress. That's honest progress. Like, who are you doing this for at the end of the day?
I mean, for a matter of fact, just this Zoom call we're on, when we originally jumped on with our man Cody here, the audio was all effed in the A. And so we had to take it back. And that fixed it. And we'll own it by saying it on here so everyone knows.
That's just a part of it, man. There's always going to be obstacles that are in our way.
Well, and you weren't just like, oh no, we'll just run with it. I was like, hey, it's kind of fucked up. And you weren't like embarrassed, like, oh no, we got it going on over here. You're like, oh, thanks for let's actually restart this call. So no, look at us.
I know. Progress.
Cheers to us.
Yeah, cheers, man. Thanks for cracking a couple with us, man. Dang it.
Yeah, good stuff, man. So glad to have. And I want to make sure I pronounce your last name right, Cody, because I've been practicing a little bit. Is it how do I say it?
You've been practicing it, bro. Let's go.
Yeah, let's hear it, Kev.
Well, I just you put me on the spot now. I forgot it. Is it?
Okay. No, I mean you can say Candelario.
Is it Candelario?
Candelario
is how you would say
Candelario.
it, like, in terms of just like an English pronunciation. Sure, yeah, Candelario.
Okay. It sounded a little bit Italian when I first read it, and I'm not good at reading Italia.
A lot of people think it's Italian. It's Spanish inherently, but
really?
Yeah, from Spain. There's actually a Candelario, Spain. There's actually a town. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
okay, wow. Nice. So what are, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are super interested in your heritage.
Yeah.
What heritage do you have? Do you know the percentage?
Oh no, I need to do one of those DNA things again. I did one way long ago, but I have those parents that are like not necessarily the most connected with their families, and so I always heard stuff and I was like, this is changing every week. None of this stuff makes sense. I grew up thinking that I was like Mexican and German because I grew up speaking Spanish as my first language. And I found out that my mom, who I thought was a German, is British and Jewish. And then my dad is Spanish and Portuguese and a bunch of other stuff. But okay, yeah, wow. It just makes sense with the time periods. Back then when my great grandparents on my mother's side were probably a different name, and then the Germans were like, hey, it's not really cool to be Jewish, so they're like, hey, I guess we're German.
I know it's crazy the ripples that World War II has created.
History is real. It happens all the time. We're part of history the last year and a half. Like, can you imagine being a kid in school in like 10 years, like in like the third grade, and you're going through history books and you're like, all right, the early 2000s was kind of hectic for the most part. And then it's just like a giant lull. And then the chapters for 2019 and 20 are just like,
come on. No, the mayhem started in 2016. We all know why. But one thing that I want to reiterate here is that it was a monumental shift in our lifetime. Like, we lived through this pandemic and it changed everything. Like, my day job, I work in the supply chain, so I'm constantly doing logistics, and the ripple effect and logistics of this thing is crazy. And it's just,
that's a nightmare.
I mean, but it's such a monumental change. Like, there's so many mentality changes. Like, the work from home thing is now, normalized, and companies can respect that. And doing these Zoom calls, podcasters doing like all this stuff, like, it's just very interesting to acknowledge that fact. Like, it's a different period after COVID. Like, how they have like the Renaissance and blah blah blah, how periods change. We're in a new period now. I don't know.
I've been calling this the Renaissance for a second. This is very much so a new Renaissance, because right now we're doing so much homework for the future, and I hope we really do it. Because there's a lot of opportunity for change. But I like to believe in people. I have times where I get down, where I'm like, fuck everybody, this sucks. But largely I like to be positive and wish the best in society, humanity, and blah blah.
Yeah.
That's a natural feeling. I feel that pretty much every day. I've been in grocery distribution for 15 years, so I've seen it through the pandemic. I've been out there, boots on the ground kind of thing, and seeing all that. And so I feel the same way. But I have a lot of optimism for the future as well. I do feel like this pandemic is going to be a game-changing experience on the back end. It's nice to finally be able to lower our masks a little bit. These restaurants are opening back up again. That's been huge, obviously, for your industry, Cody. So what's been going on with that, man? What's going on with the chef end of it?
Well, real quick, just in terms of before we gloss over that, I just want to say for everybody listening in terms of the pandemic, take a second and just ask yourself, are you okay? Is everything fine? Because everyone, we're such creatures of habit. I say that so often, but a day becomes a week, becomes a month, becomes a year so quick. And myself, a bunch of people I know personally, business connections and stuff like that, I can see a shift in people. And I just don't know if people know what they went through. People aren't used to human connection and stuff like that. A lot of things change. So I would urge a lot of people just to be like, hey, are you okay? And if you're not, that's fine. It's okay not to be okay. But take a second and process what just happened. That was a really crazy year. It's not over necessarily, but get your mental health credit coins where it's due.
Yeah, we're still in the woods, and I say on this show that the modern man should cry, and it's okay, man. I've been through a lot of stress in this year, and a lot of things have happened, and sometimes we got to let it out. It's not always easy to do that, but be honest with yourself. I think that's an important place to start, and self-help. Be honest.
Oh yeah, and take your little ball of what you think masculinity should be and literally throw that out the window, in the trash, anywhere that you can't reach it again. Throw it away, because it's more so for me. It's it's okay to cry. Period. It's just this human, guy, girl, anything in between. It's absolutely something I'm definitely trying in the last 2 years, especially when I left Hell's Kitchen. I was in the process of I really need to get better at this, because I used to be so mechanical to the point where it's emotions would come up and I would be like, should I react to this? I'm good for hella long, because that's just what kitchens were. And now I'm just I'll cry. I cry every day lately.
I feel like it's important. It is important, man. I support the crying shit. It is.
That's tough as shit. Being able to cry in front of people you love and being vulnerable, for me, that's tough as fuck.
It is, man. Yeah. It took me a while to be able to do it. It took me a while. We always had this running joke on the shows, when am I going to finally break?
When's Kevin going to cry?
It was somewhere around episode 97. I can't remember when, but it finally happened. And not that I ever tried to play a role or anything like that. It was just always tightening up and just feeling that pressure of push it down, deny your feelings, act like you have answers. Well, you know what? Sometimes that gets a little bit overwhelming, and sometimes you got to let that shit out, because if you don't, there could be bigger ramifications to come from it.
Yeah, and people just put this negative connotation around what feelings we consider negative, being sad or being happy. We're just little tubes of meat with electricity running through it on a rock that's spinning through the universe, and nobody knows what the fuck is going on. It's fine. People make rules about emotions when they're uncomfortable with them, and that's just part of growth. Some people can't handle that shit.
Do you believe in, kind of shift here, do you believe in wormholes exist, in the universe?
Yeah, totally.
So people who
I
don't know
that I'm wrong in every category, and I'm willing to believe that people that study stuff on a level that I don't know more stuff than I do.
That's true. So a wormhole is apparently an area where you can go through it and you jump and warp through time and end up in another area in the universe with little time passed, even though you could have moved millions of light years. So there's been speculation on these things existing. And I think that is what causes deja vu, because you're sleeping in the middle of the night, your subconscious is rolling, and it's reaching out from the earth. It's reaching everywhere, and it catches one of these wormholes, and then all of a sudden, you're having a dream premonition of the future. How do you feel about deja vu? Do you have that often? Do you feel like?
I have a huge opinion. I've studied this shit a little bit because, hold on. What you're talking about too fascinates me, because it's in that context, people are like, what's the quickest point from point A to point B? And on planet Earth, how we know it's to go from point A to point B. But what that's talking about is this.
Yes.
Where it literally has that shit fascinating.
Tingle my fingers.
Well, deja vu, from what I can understand of it, has to do largely with a lack of sleep. It has to do with how powerful our brain is. And so REM2, which is our regenerative form of sleep, that is where the rapid eye movement too, that's where we get our healing form of sleep that we need. But also that's when we just go into the most chronic stage of dreaming. And apparently, from what I've been reading or read, the brain is so powerful to the point where in areas of increased sleep deprivation, where it gets to the point where you're going days on end without hitting that REM 2, your brain will force you to go into REM 2 while you're awake. So that's why people so often think of daydreaming, think of deja vu. And especially deja vu is a great example, because when you have deja vu, it's like, it's real. All of a sudden you're like, oh no, I've been here before. Oh my God, everything is exactly how I remember it. And you're trying to play it
about
away.
to do that, and then they do it.
Yeah. And you're like, you're playing it away where it's like, oh my God, everything's clicking together. But it's like, think about when you're dreaming. It's like, it's the exact same believability of like, oh no, I've fucking been here. Like, this is like, you wouldn't even doubt it at that point. So that's been the most real, that's been the most accurate sounding way to describe stuff like that. But I absolutely believe in aliens and all that spooky space stuff. I think that that's hella real and wildly prevalent. I think that it's also pretty funny that, you know, in the beginning, before pre-COVID PC, you know, people were like ready to storm Area 51. People were like, I'm fucking over it. Like, let's give me the goddamn corpses. I want to see.
And we got a Naratu run. That's what we got out of that.
Yeah. And then BC, or no, PC, yeah, post-COVID, yeah, or at least MC, mid-COVID. You know, there's been a bunch of documents and stuff like that released. You know, the Navy's been putting out hella stuff. The CIA's been putting out hella stuff.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit.
So
why is that?
Okay, so no one gives a shit because it's out of their comfort zones, Cody, and they don't want to believe in some new shit. So here's the thing.
Cognitive dissonance is what it is,
yeah,
Arthur.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Cognitive dissonance.
Nobody wants to accept new information because they're so stuck in a comfortable position, right? That's ultimately what it boils down to. That's what I see.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
I could agree with that. But here's the thing. So if aliens are out there and, you know, they're not, if they're out there, I'm just going to say
wherever they are,
there is other life in this universe. There's too many galaxies. There's too many star systems. There's too many planets for there not to be life. But let's say that Earth is an experiment, right? They want to like see how the humans are progressing, you know, and we have all these awesome resources here. You know, it's beautiful atmosphere. We have great fauna here. Like everything's awesome. So what kind of home world do the aliens have that is so kick-ass that they're not trying to invade us for our resources? They're just using Earth as like an experimental planet. Like, you know, how great is their home world? You know, it makes me think about stuff like that.
I think, you know, something that Josh and I were talking about once where, you know, the examples of previous societies, I think we both on the same page of it. I think we both think it's, you know, it's pretty ignorant to assume they didn't have similar technologies. You know, steel will erode after time. So it's like, why would, you know, traces of a cell phone wouldn't be there. There's a bunch of stuff where I'm like, you know, we've been down the rabbit hole of like, at some point, an advanced society was literally just did exactly what we did and just crushed the Earth to the point where it's about to turn us over at any given moment. And they just figure out a way to get out of here.
So you feel like Earth could still be their cradle too, and they just went somewhere else?
Sure. Yeah. No. And I also had this one thing off of a lot of, you know, stuff that makes your vision move a lot. I had this kind of epiphany situation where I was thinking of like, what if, you know, the Big Bang was just the most advanced form of society getting to a point where they had to create a technology where they were like, we fucked this up, let's restart this. And so it was just like, done. And then just restarted the whole joint.
It's like a Thanos.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. But I mean, I love thinking about that stuff and I hope at some point we get some sort of like understanding or deeper explanation about that kind of stuff. But like largely, I'm just like really excited to just be a human and be able to just like.
Do you think they would actually even share it with us? Like, I doubt if that information, like they don't want people to have knowledge. Like they don't.
Well, look at what we do with stuff. Largely, we kind of suck. I think that I love humans in general, but like humans unregulated, we kind of suck. Like. We're just, you know, we're a little reckless. We create amazing, awesome stuff, but you know, our ability to get the best and the most complex of everything seems to always have a downside. But I don't know.
Sure.
I think it's fascinating.
with great power comes great responsibility. I mean,
Hell yeah,
that's
that's
really
the
the
second
bottom
time
line.
this was referenced. Shout out to Spider-Man.
And that's true, man. Because it's like, especially now at a time more than ever, with the power of social media, with the power of the internet, with Zoom, with podcasting, with YouTube, with what you name it, you can influence so many people so quickly. It's just unreal. I mean, it really is a kind of a new thing that we're having to adapt to. I mean, obviously the younger generation, this is what they've always known. It's what they've grown up with. But even like, the older generation look at it like, oh, it's the devil's poison. We don't want any part of that, But
There's always going to
is
be the devil's poison.
there's always going to be the devil's poison. It's out there.
Good and bad exist in every single thing. And it's all about like how you want to perceive it and handle it. Like this conversation could hold a lot of bad, but we're not handling it that way.
Mm-mm.
We're enjoying getting to know you. You're enjoying getting to know us. We're open-minded. And I feel like that's where healthiness is. So something that's not healthy, I'm gonna switch it up to a would you rather here.
Bring it on.
People love the holidays. I mean, come on, we do, unless you work in the supply chain, but that's here nor there. So during Thanksgiving, you get everybody together, you get all the foods. I'm sure you put some awesome dishes together, but we're going to breeze by that. Let's say you get everything put together on your plate on Thanksgiving. You got everything there. Are you the type of person that is going to eat things individually, or would you rather mix things together, eat as a concoction?
Concoction. I don't really give a hell. Like, honestly, like one of my favorite things to do with Thanksgiving dinner is like, people are always like, fucking turkey sandwiches the next day. And I'm like, fuck that, bro. You got a waffle iron? Because if you can close that bitch, anything that you fit in it will become a waffle. And let me tell you, like you
That
missed.
needs to be a quote of the show notes. Fuck that. You got a waffle iron?
No,
Oh,
this is
yeah.
going to be the promo clip right here.
Yeah, no, anything can be a waffle if you're brave enough. Because that's the thing. If it'll close, it'll become a waffle. You know what I mean? So it's like stuffing, mashed potatoes, turkey, all the joints, all the business. Crank that in that, and then you just garnish it with your little cranberry sauce or your gravy afterwards. And so building on your
bomb.
It sounds fire. Anything's a waffle if you're brave enough. I'm telling you.
That sounds like some of the best advice I've heard. I'm gonna buy a waffle iron now.
Yeah, waffle irons are dope. Air fryers are lame. It's like people are just like, oh, I'd fucking put all my leftovers in my air fryer, and I'm like, I hate stuff that takes up tabletop space that serves like no purpose. And a tabletop fryer for me is like a very limited function oven. So people are like, I don't hate anything, but people are always just like, what do you think about air fryers? I'm like, I think they're trash. Don't buy them. I don't know. Like, it's just like, it just takes up, enough space so you could get a tabletop oven, like a nice Breville, like a smart oven that'll dehydrate, it'll broil, it'll do everything that you need to, clean itself and stuff like that, take up the same amount of space. And that stupid little Costco made out of plastic fucking. Also, should I not be swearing as much? I swear a lot.
No.
We're
send it.
Yeah, we definitely always click the 18+ button.
Yeah, this is an explicit
podcast. We drink on this.
It's a potato chip. You just abbreviated F&A, so I'm just like, I'm over here just like.
No, we're getting that. We're getting that real interaction.
Disappointing my family. Everyone always hits my mom up like, your son swears a lot, and I'm like, yeah, well.
So
you saw me on TV, all right? That's how you know I swear a lot. Okay, so something's working. Okay.
This is not your typical interview. You fucking swear.
So, I'm telling your mom, Arthur.
My mama told me when I turned 18, you're old enough, so I'm gonna fucking cuss. So she's cool with it. Oh, dude, I forgot my train of thought. Okay, yeah, here it is. So
your language is fucking offensive.
Yeah, and let it be. I've heard that people who swear are happier. Like I've seen studies on this, that people who swear and can express their emotions like that are actually happier.
Yeah, whether it's release, pain processing, there's a litany of things. And honestly, it kind of makes a lot of sense to me. But like there's a bunch of stuff that if you swear, there's a bunch of stuff that you have benefits in generally. It's life expectancy, it's pain tolerance, it's a bunch of stuff where I'm just like, yeah, it's a lot easier when you don't give a fuck about anything,
Yeah, just get it out. Shit, frickin' fucking darn, and get it out, people.
Yeah, but you said frickin' darn in there, bro. I mean, like,
I've been having
audiences.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I've been having a lot of fun like replacing cuss words with like wholesome words, and you're like freaking heck, or
oh yeah, especially
I think it's kind of hilarious.
Oh yeah, especially if you swear a lot, it's so funny to throw those in. Sometimes I'll just be like Samuel L. Jackson, and I was like,
I was like, this guy.
That's what it's about. Enjoying your life, man, expressing it with emotion and swearing is fun. We did a podcast with these guys from Ireland a few weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, and they were like, you know, one of their opinions about Americans was they're like, you know, you guys take swearing a little bit too seriously. It's like, well, I can see how that's probably a fair assessment, being how much censorship we have here and how every trim and proper everything has to be. But it's like at the same time, we like to fucking, you know, crack a couple cold beers and have a good old fucking hooting time. I'll tell you that, brother.
I wonder if we're one of the worst. Yeah, we're probably one of the worst countries for swearing in terms of like a view on stuff. Well, I mean, kind of. Like, I mean, most cultures, I would say the first thing you learn is really aggressive swear words. Like everywhere I've been, you know, like Latin America, all over Europe and stuff like that, even Africa, it's like that's very, very big part. And it's like, you know, it depends on where you are in the state. But if you say cunt, you know what I mean? Like some people are just like,
I know that's a game changing word. People are like, what? I'm leaving.
But in the UK, it's like you fucking knob, cunt, and learn how to drive, you know?
Oh,
like
yeah. And then in
it's
Australia,
normal dialect.
It's an endearing term. People will call you a cunt when they're trying to be nice. Be like, yeah, nice work, cunt. And I'm like, huh? Like my manager who you spoke with is Australian. And she fucking, yeah. It always makes me feel at home when I talk to her. She'll just like,
is that where she's based out of?
She's
she in the down under?
She's based in Los Angeles, but yeah, she's
okay.
She's from there. She's one of them.
That's fun, man.
Excellent. Yeah, good people for sure.
Yeah, it's just real pizza work.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, she was stoked for this, and we're having a great time. I got to tell you, man. I see you drinking. You putting some back over there. Here. I'm definitely on you as far as being the concoctions specialist. Like one of the best thing. I'm not a cook on your level by any means, but I love making, you know, some good rice with like, you know, the shredded chicken and some veggies up in it. And I just mix it all in. And then I put it on a high heat once everything's in there with a little bit of cheese. You get that crisp on it. You like crisp the rice. Everything gets kind of crunchy. That's my thing. So I'm definitely going think that concoction.
Cooking. That's a big sign that you are. Most people are just like, oh, I'm not good at cooking. And I'm like, all I'm hearing is that you don't cook. It's not that you're not good. You just haven't done it yet.
Exactly.
That's solid advice for sure, because I love it. Even though I don't consider myself a great cook, I love being in the kitchen. My girlfriend and I try different things. We try different combinations. You know, we try to learn and adapt and bring different things in. And while we're on this topic, I got to ask you, Cody, because we got this big competition coming up in Denver, and I need your advice. That's what I need.
Bring it on.
So we are doing a sandwich battle. I asked Corey the same question, so I'm going to ask you as well.
Don't ask Corey sandwich. No.
Because competition hasn't happened yet. So I want to pick all these chefs' brains, you know, that I can learn from. And so we ended up in a sandwich battle. And so let me give you the ground rules of this situation, because it's going to be strictly visual. It won't be by taste. So what would you recommend that we build here at Discussion Combustion?
Best looking sandwich.
The best looking sandwich that's going to appeal well, because it's going to be a social media situation. This versus this, what looks
describing
better.
The ingredients. Yeah, we get to describe ingredients and show a picture, and that's going to win it or not.
What kind of sandwich should we do, Cody? I need you.
How is this being judged? Is this something that's done over social media?
Yes. This will be a
anonymous
vote on, hey, I'd rather eat this sandwich or this sandwich. And we're taking on another podcast here in Denver. It's us versus them. And so that's kind of the parameters.
Yeah. What kind of sandwich looks the best in your eyes?
I would say that, you know, it's pretty easy to appeal to social media. I would say that not in a kitschy way. One thing you could do is just make like a bread that's really colorful and make like an homage to Pride and stuff like that. It'd be really fucking easy. It's a super fucking big sell, but that's a lot of work. I would say that outside of that, you want to, if you're just trying to do it strategically, attack stuff that's really fucking popping. One thing that's popular all over the US is birria, like the Mexican braised beef dish that's generally done on like a taco setting. Do something that's buzzwordy. You know what I mean? Like people love ramen, people love birria, people love like that kind of stuff. Outside of that, I'm trying to think, you know, it's really, especially because I've done food photography, a lot of this stuff isn't like, you're not like, it's not about like, you're going to make the best fucking sandwich. It's more so like, how can we make this look like the best fucking sandwich?
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah. So you have experience here. You know what kind of alley we're walking through.
That's tough. I would say that what's the most ridiculous thing that you can put a sandwich on? You know, like let's make a solid sandwich, sure, but like, is there some crazy mountain that you can climb to and then place your sandwich on and take a picture? Like, you know, like
That's a
what's
good
like a
idea.
weird fucking thing where it's like this photo needs to trend. You know, people need to see this and have a reason. If you make a banging sandwich, if your background's lame, it's not going to catch people's
we could
eyes.
put it on a floaty, like on water, so it's like floating on water on a plate.
Totally.
Something.
With the Rocky Mountains behind it.
So that's an interesting perspective.
That is a great perspective,
Mhm.
honestly. I think we learned.
Is it just the only fucking rubric is sandwiches? They're just like, hey, make a sandwich, and it's a competition.
Yeah, so there's a nice man here in Denver named Justin Finesilver, and he does he's got a whole thing that's a sandwich battle, and he does different companies, different podcasts, social media organizations. They do this versus this, and it's like a bracket challenge. And so we got involved with this, and we're taking on another big podcast here in Denver. Loser has to donate to the local food bank, which is going to be.
You only have to beat one person.
What's that?
You only have to beat one person.
One person.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can fuck them up. That's way easy. That's hella funny. Yeah, I would just say that your picture needs to be way better and the sandwich needs to make sense.
Okay.
You're like the sandwich making sense isn't as much as the picture needs to hit, I would
So
say.
we just need to oversell it. It could be as simple as like a Monte Cristo sitting on a float with the Rocky Mountains behind it, and that thing could win, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, totally. I mean, if the sandwich, like, don't make a shitty sandwich. So, like, if you're going to toast the bread, make sure the bread is evenly toasted. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to use lettuce, make sure that shit has like vivid texture in it that doesn't look like you used a bunch of bullshit. You know, if like you're going to use a layered sandwich like a muffaletta, make sure that shit is dense. Make sure there's visible layers and something that you can actually see, as opposed to some just like kind of like messily kind of done situation. Make it look like it was done with purpose, but the background needs to hit. You'll dust those fools.
Okay.
What's the name of their
That makes
podcast?
sense.
So we're going to be taking on John of all trades,
Yeah.
Denver's best podcast here. So yeah, we're excited about that.
Is it actually Denver's best podcast?
2017, they got that award.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
2017.
fucking 6 years ago. That's almost fucking 25 years ago at this point. What are you talking about?
Well, we love John now.
2017?
Yeah.
We love John, man. He's a good guy over there.
Yep.
And he's been a little bit of a
I bet
mentor
he's
to
good,
us.
but did he retire?
No,
No, he's still in the
he's
game.
still in the game. He's still in the
Yeah.
game. He's ready to try and take us down with the sandwich challenge. I'm gonna tell you this: we're gonna beat him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say we do it and get a good background. It's going to be fantastic. So while we were talking about this, I was thinking about something, and it reminded me of one of your videos that we were watching prior to recording, and it was the preparation part, So is that one of your favorite parts about being a chef is fixing the final plate, making it look so presentable and pretty right before someone eats it? What's your favorite stage of cooking? Is it listing ingredients, buying the ingredients, chopping, or preparing the plate? Like, what would you say is your favorite part?
I'd say that it's all one organism. The entire
Yeah.
thing from A to B, it's all one organism that I
That's
wholeheartedly
true.
enjoy. Pinpoints of what I enjoy the most are cooking for people that I care about. Like making a meal for anybody that I like, you know what I mean? Or anybody that's like we're like, oh, I want to learn this. Like that stuff gets me. I'll always clock in. Doesn't matter how tired I am. But plating is a place where I find a lot of home. I identify more so as a creative, the more so than I do as like a chef or a cook or anything like that. I just like making stuff. That's what makes me feel less bored when I'm spinning around this rock in the middle of the universe. You know what I mean? And so a lot of times, sure, when I have to be calculated, in restaurant setting, pop-ups, stuff where it has to do with monetary value, where it has to be consistent, I do a lot of pre-theory and I know what I'm getting into ahead of time. And, a lot of times, like depending on the caliber, like restaurants, I'll practice everything. I know what it's going to look like standardized wise before anybody sees it. But I love cooking for friends and stuff like that, especially when it's tasting menu style or if that's what they want, because I just love getting all the Legos and the building blocks and then being like, let's put this together. So yeah, I love that. It's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Now are you, because you're talking about being creative and how big of a passion that is, and I feel what you're saying completely. Have have you ever done any handyman work, like construction? You ever like framed a basement or done anything like that? Built a structure that lasts, that created anything like that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I've helped on some projects. They're all culinary related, like building a yurt, building a structure for hanging animals. But I'd say the most that I've done to that extent is definitely cooking related, and it's working in slaughterhouse and it's working in animal fabrication. That stuff is, I'm assuming, incredibly similar in the sense that like there is a structured system to it. It's incredibly manual labor focused, and it's just super hard on your body and your hands. But no, I've never. So it's like, I think I have this thing called low latent inhibition, where it's not like ADD, where it's like, oh, squirrel, bat, blah, where it's like an inability to not divulge in stimuli. So it's like, I'll see construction projects and always think like, is that standard procedure? Is this how they are? Like, are they always taught the same way? Or is it like differential between West Coast, East Coast? Is this something like blah, blah, blah? And it's always fascinated me. I love, building shit. Like, I've made Legos and I just like to, create stuff. I built a raft once, but no, I've never done anything to the point where I've measured wood, cut it, and built shit.
Okay. No, I was just curious. One rudimentary, I think that's the right word. One rough piece of art that Kevin and I made once. We went on a long hike in one of our favorite places, Castlewood Canyon here in Colorado. And what we did is we went deep into the woods and we started, what was that called again? What kind of hut?
A wiki up.
A wiki hut.
Wiki up.
A wiki up?
Wiki up.
Yep.
Okay.
We built one of those, and it wasn't the prettiest thing, but it was kind of fun.
I wonder if it still stands.
I bet it's still standing. Although these Colorado, these winters, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
They might have whacked them.
I mean, I love shit like that. Like, I was visiting my dad. My dad's in the hospital right now. I was visiting my dad, and he was watching some show called Naked and Afraid.
Oh, yeah.
And
Great show. My girlfriend loves it.
I was like, I'd crush at that. Like, I don't know. Like, there's a bunch of that stuff where I'm like, oh, I hella didn't know that. But I was like, I'd fuck that up. Like, all the structures that they're building. Like, I just feel like I would, like I said earlier, I think there's a systematic nature to learning, and I applied it to something that I find has very flexible, universal qualities in terms of like how to learn other stuff. Like, there's certain careers where it's like, like photography, where it's, or like videography, where it's like, that might not necessarily translate to building, but it's like cooking in particular. It's like that translates to like most stuff, whether it's art or all the way to like construction. There's a systematic and like a, I don't know, there's a nature to it that I find cohesive with a lot of that stuff. So that's what fascinates me. I've just never really done it.
Yeah. So I feel like cooking, you have your best practice when building things, and there's a right way to build it so it has structure and this and that, But with cooking, there's so many other layers, So if you can understand, the temperature and how these two things pair at that temperature. And if you throw a third thing in there, like I feel like, and Kevin and I were talking about this before we went on, it's cooking is really a science. And there's so many different layers to that science that it's like a never ending knowledge pit of how to do things.
Yeah. It's one of those categories where it's the more you know, the more you realize how much you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely, so baking is way more of a science. A lot of what baking is very structural. It has to be a certain way, but there's a lot of frivolity with cooking, which is where I enjoy it. There's a lot of stuff that scientifically, like, like, for example, like when I'm freestyling some stuff, like I'll be making a dinner, some friends bought in some ingredients. I'm like, all right, what am I going to do with this stuff? I have potatoes and I know I'm going to do something with them. Down the line, I don't know what that is. I don't know what direction I'm going to go with it, but I know to cook them, to a point where they're going to be perfect, tender mashed potato consistency. I can put them into an oven at 400 degrees. And I know 400 degrees is going to carry them at the proper moisture disbursement time, to the point where they're not going to become gummy and they're still going to become like a perfect steam. So there's aspects of science and precision in it, but that's where the example comes in. I can take it from there and do whatever I want with it. So that's why I love cooking, is because there's a bit more bit more availability to problem solve, to to think on the fly, to do a lot of this like really creative expression stuff, if time allows. Whereas like baking is like firm science stuff. You have to follow, and that's why I don't like it. Like I'll never cook cookies right. I fuck that up in a restaurant setting. I follow my recipes. When I'm at home, I'm like, those bitches are not done. I'm gonna cook them longer, and then I take them out. I'm like, this is hard. Like, what the hell was I doing?
So what's your favorite type of cookie?
I'd say that baked goods benefit a lot from dry aging, like most things.
No, but like if you're going chocolate chip or you're going oatmeal or something, like what's the cookie that you're gonna eat?
I would take whichever cookie I was feeling and I would ball them up and I would let them sit in my refrigerator for 2 days. That's the example. I know that sounds silly, but like resting, it's just like resting meats, or like lasagna, for example. You make a fire pan of lasagna, you let that sit, and then you serve it the next day and reheat it. Everything's going to compact and everything's going to be more dense and flavorful. Same thing with bolognese. Like, it's like something that has like a shit ton of dry spices. You cook that while it's hot. Sure, you can serve it then, but the next day when all those flavors have had a lot like time to allow to integrate, it's going to be so much better the next day.
Is that why food is always better? Like when you have it as, I feel like I've ran into this a bunch where like the leftovers is phenomenal. And you're like, why is the leftovers so much better?
Oh yeah. And there's categorical reasons for some of the things like for example, like dried spices. If you put that in anything, those are going to take time to release. It's not like a fresh thing where it's like, like if people put parsley into a soup when it's cooking and they're like, oh, you smell that? And I'm like, yeah, I smell all the flavor leaving violently. It's like if you want to add stuff at the pinpoint where it's most accessible. And so it's like, for fresh herbs, that would be like directly at the end, right when you're about to eat it, because that effervescence is literally fleeting. Whereas like dried spices, those take time. So that's the difference in variance. But that's why I would say with the cookie, my favorite, definitely chocolate chip. I'm not a psychopath, but
wait, so I'm an oatmeal raisin type of guy. Now oatmeal cranberry and white chocolate, no raisins. That's what I'm going for. Is that psycho?
No, I mean you are, but like that isn't. You know what I mean? No, I'm kidding.
I accept that. I play ball, Cody. You're gonna find out that we play ball good over here.
I'm gonna take you guys to a batting range and see if that fucking plays well. But yeah, the 2-day thing for dry aging pastries is a real thing. A lot of places will do that with croissants and cookies and all sorts of stuff like that. Just makes them a lot more. I'm telling you.
So that's after it's cooked, right? You cook it and then
hell no, what are you talking about?
No, that's the prep. That's before it's cooked. Just like you do with the meats. All right, pay attention, bro.
All right. No, it's only I got that way because I was like, I gave you the steps, bro. I said ball them up and then put them in the fridge.
I fucked up, man. I fucked up.
No, you're perfect. You're beautiful. Everything's great. Take a store-bought cookie, ball them into, the balls that you use, and then cook half of them, and then wait 2 days for the other ones, or even wait a day, and then bake those ones at the same temperature, same amount of time, and check out the difference. You're gonna have a lot more like elastic cookie that's like it's gonna have more nice areas of undercooked as opposed to like kind of inconsistently undercooked.
I like the crunch. I like the crunchy cookie, honestly. Like the soft cookie can be fun, but I like a crunchy cookie. That's my type of cookie.
See, I like a soft cookie.
Soft cook. See, I like it's just like bacon for me. I love both. It's like I like almost the middle ground where it's like the edges are crispy and then the center's got a little bit of tooth to it.
Oh, there you
crisp,
go.
Yeah.
See, he walks the line.
Yeah. One cookie for everybody. All right.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Man. One thing.
What else you got?
No, you.
Well, see, I just want to now we're at the point where I just want to ask like personal like cooking questions because I admire your skills, Cody. And like I was telling my girlfriend, I were trying to get a little bit better at doing some cooking in the kitchen. And one of the things that I'm going to tell you right now that I've been struggling with is cooking bone-in pork chops, brother. I'm doing well with it.
There because I have to pee.
Okay.
Yes. That question again. I've been holding this way too long.
No, you do it, man. Right, we love that.
We'll hold the conversation down while you're gone.
This man's enjoying his drinks. He's enjoying his drinks. I might do this too. You want to do a monologue? No, I'm joking. You go pee.
No, I'm not going to pee right now. But I am going to tell you that Brandy and I really have been putting a lot of focus on trying to learn how to cook a little bit.
Yeah.
And do these fun dishes and watching Hell's Kitchen, a lot of these other cooking shows have inspired us to do it. So when we do get behind the stove and when Cody returns, I'm going to ask him about this because I've seen him do it really well. And it's very difficult to cook bone-in pork chops, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him doing it before we hopped on this app. Like we were watching.
We did see that.
That was looked delicious.
And I've seen that also on a lot of cooking shows, but that doesn't help me do it. There's still that technique. You can watch someone do it, right? But then there's also learning how to do it yourself. So
you just got to challenge yourself, like he's been saying, man.
We have been.
You got to challenge it. So how many times have you guys attempted to make?
Not enough to really have a good stand here to say that we're good or bad at this operation. It's more or less just, hey, what do we want to put the attention on, and cooking even a bone-in ribeye, that's a different kind of style. I've seen these guys do a lot of New York strips, which is a great lean piece of meat. That's kind of fun to cook. And I've picked up on some of those characteristics on how to do that, but it's just fun to learn different characteristics. And I think it all comes back down to, which most chefs are going to tell you, just do it. Just throw it in the pan.
He's going to say that.
It's probably what he's going to tell me. That's been the advice that most chefs have got me or have given me. But I feel like there's still probably something, is it the right temperature, the right pan? That's kind of what I want to learn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So
What do you want about?
Oh man, we were just talking about doing cooking and how not so good I am at it. And
Not yet.
I can cook some things, Cody. I'll tell you that. They're not real good, but what I was telling Art when you were gone was, my girlfriend and I've been poking around and just trying different things. What I want to get better at is learn how to cook in like bone-in pork chops, and
Okay.
The right temperature, the right pan, cast iron. What do you think, man? How should I dial that in?
Well, how much time do you have?
All the time in the world, brother.
I would say that there's a few things in play here. We want to talk about thermoconductivity. We want to talk about heat transfer. And we want to talk about just like the cooking method in general. So thermoconductivity, how heat actually transfers. So you can cook a pork chop on the grill. You can cook a pork chop on a stainless steel pan or in a cast iron. What's good to pay attention to between the cast iron versus like a regular pan is how thick is it? How much heat is that going to hold? Because, that's a transfer of energy. If you're cooking something in a thin pan, generally speaking, a stainless steel pan is pretty thin versus a cast iron. The cast iron pan is going to take longer to heat up, but that velocity is really harder to slow down. And what you're doing when you're adding a pork chop or anything into something is, it's not the same temperature as the pan, you're cooling it down. So what a cast iron will do is it will hold temperature really well. So maintaining temperature and something like that, maintaining a proper sear is a lot easier. It's also a lot easier to, it's easier to notice if something is burning. Whereas a stainless steel pan, the one thing that you're getting there is you're cooling the pan down really quickly, but that pan will also heat up really quickly. So it's super easy to get too much direct contact heat. So that's thermoconductivity. What are you cooking with? How are you transferring the heat? So then we get into actual heat transfer. What does that fucking mean? So heat transfer, grill dads are like 4 minutes each side, turn it over one time each, fucking done. And it's like, no, fuck that. When, protein fibers, they're just like these little strandy fucks. And the more that they get attached to heat, they start to furl and press against each other. That's why you'll see a steak go from flat like this to start being like kind of bubbly. When you cook something too long on one side, what you're doing is you're causing these proteins to furl, create this wall. And so grill dad steaks are always like this hard, thick line of super well done, sometimes even raw center or really rare center, and then another thick wall of well done. That happens because you're transferring too much heat to the point where you're creating this wall immediately, not allowing the heat to transfer to the middle. And that's making it really hard for heat to penetrate and go to the center. So what I always say, and there's a great chef from when I was learning, he's still awesome, but he used to be really prevalent in the early 2000s, Heston Blumenthal. He has this segment called In Search of Perfection. He has a video on steak where he actually cooks a steak and shows it on a thermomolecular camera. And he and his team of genius people found out that you can literally flip a steak every 15 seconds. And you're not going to damage the steak. You're going to continuously build that caramelization. And what you're doing when you flip it over every single time is, this is the contact point. So this is the furly heat. So you turn that over, and this is the furly part that was just getting all the heat. That's chemistry. That's still a lot of really fast moving stuff. That takes time to slow down. What you're doing there when it's slowing down is you're allowing that heat to transfer from here to the center. So the more you move a steak, the more you move a pork chop, the more you move anything that you're trying to create this nice even heat, the more you move that without sacrificing your crust, because that's really important. The more you move that stuff, the more you're allowing those contact points to allow that heat to distribute to the center. So basically, you want to cook. So like, for example, I can cook a bone-in ribeye that's fucking thick as shit, literally in a pan without going into the oven. Just because I know I can constantly move it and keep just distributing that heat. And as long as I rest it right, I'm going to make sure that steak is way more cooked than any fucking grill dad that's like aggressively searing, chucking it in the oven, bada bing. The heat transfer is a big fucking thing. So that's stage, that's 2 things. And then cooking method wise, which we're on to stage 3. How are you doing it? Are you using the oven? Are you just cooking in a pan? Are you doing a grill? Blah, blah. One thing that's good for pork chops and, any sort of meat is you can cook it in a water bath. You can get what people call a sous vide machine. Sous vide means under pressure in French. So
Okay.
It's not necessarily, you're not buying a sous vide machine. The sous vide machine would be a vacuum seal machine. The things that people connotate as a sous vide machine is technically a water bath cooker, immersion circulator, as they're called, which is it's an old medical device that used to heat chemicals up so it was at the same temperature as blood at point of entry or some shit like that, from what I understand. But yeah, you can do that to kind of cheat. You can literally cook it in a water bath to the point where it's at the temperature that you want, and then deep fry that fucker and get the crust that you want and then serve it. You know what I mean? So it's like, it just depends on how you want to get there. But I would say that the most important thing out of all 3 of those is understanding the temperature transfer, allowing it that time to make sure that all that aggressive chemistry you're putting into one side gets to slowly relax into the other. Oh, and then anything you cook that has to do with stuff that has like protein and muscle and structure and connective tissue, half the cooking time, rest that. So rest your meat always, but it's not just 5 minutes for everything. It's literally half your cooking time. That's what I found is the best. So if it's an hour, rest it for 30. If it's 15 minutes, rest it for 7.5, whatever the fuck that is. But yeah, people always fuck up on that because it's the same shit with chemistry. You put all this momentum into this little thing. You should put it on a resting rack or something that's raised. If you don't have a resting rack, anything is a rack. Throw a bunch of spoons and forks and shit like that. So it's elevated. You just spend all that time building a crust. Don't steam it out. But all those molecules in there are, they're constantly moving. Way too fast. You cut them open, like you see how the videos on Instagram where people cut the shit, like, oh, look at all that juice going over there. We're like, yeah, look at all that work you just wasted. Give it time to relax and redistribute all that moisture to where it has place to go.
Yeah.
Time.
Yep.
How was that?
It is a science.
That was great, man. No, that's good stuff for sure. Especially with the resting aspect, because that's something that I did pick up from you guys for sure. Is kind of, if you cook a steak for 8 minutes or whatever it is, let it rest for 4. That does pay dividends for sure. That does. That's something I've learned in the game. But no, that was good, man. I'm gonna have to watch this back to pick up on all the stuff because you just laid down a whole bunch of knowledge that I didn't have my notepad here, Cody. So I'm gonna have to watch it back.
Hey, well, I'm gonna do a video on steak soon. I have it already filmed. It just didn't turn out the way that I want to. And I'm being a perfectionist. I'm trying to dead that. But yeah, no, I mean, I would say that largely, be a little kid with everything with cooking. Taste stuff, touch stuff, squeeze stuff. When you're making a steak, squeeze it. How does it feel? And then when you cut into it, be like, oh, that's how that felt in relation to how it turned out, and you just build that, database of knowledge. It's to the point now where it's like, I'm hella good at cooking proteins. I'm really good at cooking whole fish or whole, like giant rib roasts or stuff like that. Just because I've done it so many times, I pay attention and I try to do it well. And I'm not trying to be like one size fits all when I'm good, bro. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Like, just always try to get better. And it's like a tasty fuck up too. Like an overcooked ribeye slaps. Like it's so like a lot of people are like, you have to have ribeye rare. And I'm like, it's really intramuscular and fatty. It's like you're chewing a lot of that stuff. It's like, it's one of the steaks where it's like, if it's medium, I'm really not mad about it. But
oh yeah, man. I mean, I love a good little dabble in the kitchen is always a lot of fun, man. Probably one of my favorite things to cook. I was just talking about, like, the whole concoctions and all that, but probably one of my top things to cook. And I have a very specific way that I like to go about my grilled cheese. I'm not a
Okay.
yeah, no grilled cheese on the stovetop. I'm baking the grilled cheese. And that way everybody gets their grilled cheese at the exact same time. You're not worrying about like I
I
only
like
got
that.
so much pan space to cook these. And so what I do is get the good old sourdough. You get the butter, obviously. I like to do a little bit of ham in there, and then obviously like a good creamy cheddar or something like that. And then you bake them all at the same time. They all come out at the same time. That's one of my favorite things to make.
Do you get a lot of crisp from that?
So you don't
Because
get
that
the
would be the only
coloring.
thing. Because like I've done. No, you're good. Go for it.
Yeah, you don't get the coloring like your golden brown coloring. It's not as prevalent, but yeah, they come out crispy. They come out gooey, and a parchment
If they
paper.
come
That's what I
out
cook it
crispy,
on.
then you're good. You're totally
Yeah.
good. The one thing I would say that when you're doing stuff like that, what you can probably do is I guarantee the bottom side of your sandwiches are probably always more crispy.
No, you got to flip them halfway through. You got to
Oh,
flip 'em.
then you're good. You're totally good.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Because if the bottom of your sandwiches are crispy and the top aren't, then all you need to do is flip them. And if the top of your sandwiches are getting crispy and the bottom aren't, then your oven isn't hot enough.
I see. And then the good old classic broil will fix things, if you need that. So I kind of want to bring it back though, because earlier on in this conversation, we were talking a lot about, challenging yourself, making yourself uncomfortable, working hard, set a goal and stick to it and see it through no matter what you got to do. And generally we like to have a little segment where it's like, if you could offer any piece of advice to humanity to help better humanity for tomorrow, what would that advice be? And I feel like you talked about a lot of things, but I'm curious to see what your main point would be to help people move forward. Because you have that mental health segment that you're doing on Tuesdays, like you're thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's people have had harder lives than I have for sure, and it's like it's nothing about is it a competition, but like I've overcame a bunch of stuff and stuff that I didn't know that I was going to be able to, and hella proud of it. I'm hella proud of all of the scars, and I don't wear them as a badge of honor. I wear them as like I like when people don't give up. I love that kind of stuff, and I probably touched on this a lot, but I would like, I if it turns out that there isn't any sort of God or there isn't any sort of thing that made all this stuff, we made everything, and people are their own gods. And I'm not saying that's true. I don't know what happens after this or what's been happening during it or anything like that. But largely, it's like a lot of the people that I really look up to, they just didn't give up. And that's what I would say to anybody. It's like, build your castle. Like make sure that whatever you want in life, build that castle and build it as big as you want. Whatever you literally want in life, make sure it's important to you. But whatever you want, theorize that and really think about that. Make sure you really take some time to build this castle, what you want to move into in your future, and then work back from there. Life is as simple and as complex as we make it and allow it to be. And I just think that people are so much more great and powerful than they give credit. And if it literally turns out that we made everything, that's wild. That's absolutely wild. And people just really don't understand how strong they are. And so one thing I would do is I'd go back to that thing. Like, do you want to, what if I, like, do you want to hear my easy, how do I always phrase it? It's like, two things to change your life. One's really easy and one's really hard. And, the easy one is, what if you could change your brain to be able to be as confident and to be able to accomplish and be as smart and, and as prepared to tackle and do whatever you wanted in life? Wouldn't you want to do that? Everyone always answers yes. Yeah, of course. What the hell? And I'm like, well, that's the easy part. Here's the hard part. You already have it. It's already there. How much do you want it? So it's like, I just like to remind people that, where it's like, anytime you get into a situation where you answer the what if, it's, not what if I can't, but like give yourself the what if I could.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Sure. Solid advice, man. Absolutely solid advice. It really boils down to, every individual's probably got a fire or passion within them. And it's really up to ourselves to dig down and find it, what do we want out of this life? You know,
Yeah.
what inspires us? What gives us a sense of joy? You know, that's really where I'm trying to put my focus at. You know, continue to learn and continue to have great experiences and being able to interact with great people, to me, brings me joy. So for me, I feel like that's my purpose, and just enjoying life.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, man, is enjoying the finer things. And I'll tell you this, man, this has been a great conversation.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, and also that, but it's like, are you happy? Is what I always ask people that, especially strangers. You know, I love asking strangers that question. Like whenever I get into a small conversation, because I'm super friendly, I assume that we're all friends wherever I go. And I love chopping up with people, and I'm over casual at all times because I like people to know that we're all on the same team. You know, it's like your group should be powerful, keep your friends strong, keep your circle close, but also, you know, your neighbor is your friend. You know, it's like there is no evil, there's just an absence of love, blah, blah. But I love people asking people like, are you happy? And you know, it catches people off guard hella often. And I would say that
Well, because
largely
we're
I
all
cleaned
supposed
up.
to, how's your day going? Going great, going fine. So when people ask real questions, it's like, whoa, like, you know, what's going on here? And that's good that you make people feel uncomfortable with that, because it shows a different sense of compassion. Like I just had that little key point.
Yeah, no, well, it's also like the follow-up, if it ever goes deeper than that, for me is always like, are you happy? You know, and then sometimes people say no, or they'll lull, and I'm like, well, do you want to be? Because you know, like a lot of, you know, I think that people, especially my generation or our generation, you know, like the younger generation too, you know, it's like people people have a problem with their problems not being special. And I feel like that's because we're getting so further away from real life shit, and the stuff on social media is stuff like that's always perfect and always pretty, and it's fine, it's okay to not be okay, you know. And I just always like to offer
Yeah.
people, it's like, are you happy? No. Well, do you want to be? Because I'm not saying that your depression isn't real, I'm not saying your anxiety isn't real, I'm not saying your family problems aren't real. Everything that's happening to you isn't your fault, but do you want to be happy? You know, like, would you like to change that? Because then balls in your court, go for it. Then choose that. I know it's hard, that doesn't make your problems any less real, but it's like, let's work towards that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
You know, let's believe and achieve that for sure. I always like to close it with, you know, I like positive affirmation. I like rhyming, you know, believe and achieve. Believe in yourself. Like believe in yourself through, you know, your own adversity. Like you just said, like a lot of things happen to us, and yeah, that's reality. That's really happening. But it's our responsibility to be resilient. So let's believe in ourselves. Let's believe in being resilient. Let's believe in our own happiness and achieve it by holding ourselves accountable, by making sure that, you know, I love myself too much to do this to myself. Like, well, let's treat each other, ourselves right. Let's believe and achieve making ourselves the best selves that we can be, you know. And then that's a good believe and achieve for the week for sure. I feel like everybody could get some strength off of that and kick Thursday, Friday's ass.
Always a strong way to believe and achieve it, Arthur. You know, and it's like to say is you got to own it. You know, own what's going on. Maybe you're not doing well. Maybe you do need to go do a little bit of crying. Maybe you do need someone to talk to. And don't be afraid to do that. Reach out. There's so many great people out there. You know, there's people that care about us. There's people that care about you. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's important to surround ourselves and to allow these peoples into our lives, I feel like.
Yeah, and don't be afraid of, you know, talk. Like, my thing is, my team is strong. I'm, you know, I consider myself a very strong person, but I pride myself on that because of, like, especially now, I'm the most strong I ever have been because I stopped being strong by myself. You know, I bring my team in. All my friends know how I'm doing. You know, build your personal infrastructure. If your friends don't know how you're doing, that's not mental toughness, that's not endurance, that's supplementing, that's treading water. You know what I mean? Like, you know, build your team, build your ecosystem, where we all have to get through this shit together. You know, like
Yeah.
we're all on the same fucking team, all of us, every single one of us. People you don't get along with, you know, people you do get along with, all on the same fucking team. Treat it
yeah,
that way.
Strong. So strong, man. Yeah, totally hit the nail on the head there. I believe it, man. I carry a tattoo on my arm that says Beyond Blood, just because I believe that friends and family make you the richest man. And without that, what do you really have? You know, without a support group, people are going to carry us. They're going to teach us things. They're going to be our biggest support group. And man, I'm just, I'm happy to have had this experience tonight. You know, Cody, you seem
Yeah, it
like
was
a good guy.
good.
You're
good.
a
Well,
friend
for
now.
anybody that enjoyed this type of topic and stuff like that, on Tuesdays on my Instagram, created by Cody, my friend Sean Antonio, who's also one of the best life coaches in the universe, and you know, in the everything that we know and exists. He and I sit down, and every week we tackle a question. So last week's question, you know, we did, is it okay to not be okay? You know, the one we did this week was how to have an unstoppable mindset. You know, we're doing stuff like this. We want to create a space where people can bring real-life stuff, and I call it square up, because in a way it's like, yo, let's be aggressive about being overly honest about how we feel. You know, so every Tuesday at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, I go live on my Instagram, my friend Sean, Sean Antonio Life Coaching, and we talk about stuff like this. And it's a really, really fun time. I encourage everybody, both of you, and yeah, anybody that wants to, and anybody that doesn't should anyways. So it's a really, really fun live.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's important for us to be honest with ourselves, because when you're going to sleep every night and you're laying your pretty little head to bed and resting your hair, you know, are you comfortable with yourself? Are you happy and satisfied with your life? And on your deathbed, on the grave, if you can live your life in that sort of mentality to where you want to challenge yourself, you feel challenged, you feel like you're creating, you feel like you're having an input in society, you're having an impact, you're being true to yourself, that's when you're going to die happy. We don't get to take money with us. Hearses don't have moving vans behind them. We don't take anything with us. So it's like, let's make life the best that we can here. And Cody, honestly, like, what a great fit you were talking with us on this episode. We love the type of things you're doing. Created by Cody. Like, the YouTube channel is awesome. You know, the motivational things are awesome. And overall, just having the energy to help and be there for people, because we, you know, Discussion Combustion is a platform. You have a platform, and with people like us that want to create positive energy that can help people and be honest. Like, we talk about our addictions, we talk about our struggles, we keep it real. It's not a fallacy. You know, this is some real stuff. And what a pleasure talking with the real one across Zoom, man. This has been fantastic.
Hey, I'm dyslexic. I tried to read it instead of just saying Discussion Combustion Podcast. It's been really, really fun. No, I love stuff like this. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to talk about stuff like this. This is it's part about being human. You know, it's hard enough to be here every single day, and I would say that largely, you know, it's harder to be happy and it's easier to be sad, but it's a lot better feeling to be happy. You know, and it's little work in the long run, even when it seems like a lot. Choose that.
Hell yeah.
Good stuff, man. Very powerful close to this episode. We'll include all your stuff down in the show notes down below.
Oh yeah, senseless plug real quick.
Yeah, send it, Cody.
So for those of you that don't know, I left Aspen, Colorado. I was about to move to Denver. My dad, unfortunately, has suffered from a stroke. He had 3 strokes on the right side of his brain, and I have uprooted my life. Whatever. I've moved so many times. Uprooted my life. I packed some suitcases, you know what I mean? But I've moved to the Bay Area. I'm here with him. I'm going to slow down on cooking for a little bit to make sure that he's okay. I have a GoFundMe that is for the purpose of distributing information that's available on my Instagram, created by Cody. If anybody wants to get involved or share anything like that, please, by all means. I'm going to be making cooking videos soon. I'm also working on a really sick event space here where I plan on making a bunch of like pop-ups and just readily available, you know, content creation. I'm building another network, but it's going to take a second. So for anybody wondering where I've been and what I'm doing, I'm taking care of my family right now. I'm taking a little step back, but I'm not going anywhere, and it's only up from here, but there's some stuff I got to take care of. But yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been a really good time.
And that's completely respected from both of us. And I know all your listeners and people who enjoy your content, they definitely respect it. And man, let's keep the week strong. Let's keep moving forward. It's okay if you slip. It's okay if you tumble a little bit. We're going to keep it moving forward, advance through the struggle, stay strong. The week is ours.
Hell yeah.
Be good to yourselves.
Hell yeah.
Be good to yourselves, people.
I love that.